Hi, this is Tom Salemi. We are here at OIS at ASCRS, and I'm thankful that Bill Meury, the Chief Commercial Officer from Allergan, has joined us. Bill, thank you.
Great to be here.
So this is, obviously, ophthalmology plays a huge part of Allergan's story, and I want to get into your pipeline, because you've been very busy on the early stage side of things. But first I want to cover some more recent news. We talked earlier, actually, at OIS at AAO, we talked to Brent Saunders about the news around Restasis. That was followed up with some discussions about some announcements of cuts and layoffs due to the Restasis program. Where are we with that process? And do you feel it's had any sort of impact in your connection to ophthalmologists or ophthalmology in general?
No, I would say patent cliffs are part of the industry.
Sure.
They're never easy to go through. We did have to make some changes to the business because of the expected loss in sales for Restasis. But those changes have been made. We still have one of the broadest and deepest development programs in place in R&D. In fact, I would say we probably have the largest pharmaceutical pipeline in eye care. And then on the commercial side, we still have one of the largest sales forces in the world. It's a $2 billion business worldwide, growing at a mid-single-digit rate. And so we're still very happy with the eye care business. We are in a transition, and we do have several exciting projects in development that we expect will rebuild our business after we lose Restasis.
Yeah, you have some exciting programs. Indeed, I was going through the 10K, and that's kind of what I want to get into next. You had your string of acquisitions, Oculive, of course, which is now commercial, is TruTear.
That's right.
Aquasys as well is on the market, right?
Yes.
And Foresight Vision 5, RetroSense, and we'll talk about Editas in a moment, but was that an unusual string of early stage acquisitions for a company your size, and how does that impact kind of operations? Does it take time for that bolus to kind of move down the snake before you're able to do more acquisitions, or how does that work?
It's a good question. Our approach to building our R&D pipeline in eye care is to create balance between early stage opportunities and later stage opportunities. You mentioned some of the early stage opportunities, which are balanced by later stage opportunities such as Abicipar for AMD, Bimatoprest, SR for glaucoma, by way of example. And you really need to have balance so that you can maintain a steady flow of new product opportunities in innovation, which ultimately it's the number one problem every company has to solve for. And I think we're solving for it. And we're excited about the later stage compounds, and some of the other ones that you mentioned are in earlier stages and will reach certain R&D milestones over the next several quarters and several years. And when we look up in 5 years, we hope we have one of the more impressive eye care product lines in the world.
So do those early stage products that you brought in, how do they kind of work their way through the company? Are there people whose 100% job is to move that forward, or are they sort of assigned to different teams with different, maybe one foot in the commercial side and one foot on the early development side?
Yeah, it's a good question. For an early stage project, it sits in R&D. There's a core product team and a governance board that manages all aspects of the early stage development work. They're completely focused on it. At some point, that early stage compound will be handed over to a clinical development team to advance it through, for example, phase 2, phase 3, and then ultimately NDA submission. Commercial input is received at the earliest stages of development, even for late stage preclinical compounds. And then as a product gets 12 to 24 months from launch, then there's an awful lot of early commercialization work that's being done to get it ready. Strategic decisions related to how it's going to be positioned, investment decisions, pricing decisions, packaging decisions, among many other things.
So is the hunt then for new early stage technologies, is that at all suspended or on hold while these are being digested, or do you still have the same amount of people going out and looking for the next Oculive or whatever have you?
We still have the same amount of people, probably more. Even though we made some changes to our eye care business, we're evaluating as many new opportunities today as we were last year. And we look at virtually everything. We're agnostic about the type of technology. We're agnostic about the stage of development. If we think that there's an innovative solution that the market's going to be interested in and it improves our offering, then we'll do it, which is why if you look at our eye care business, it's not just pharmaceuticals, it's pharmaceuticals, procedures, devices, among many other things.
And the deal I mentioned earlier with Editas for the gene therapy program, is that an unusual deal for Allergan? Do you have any other collaborations like that?
Not unusual, but we don't have many types of programs like that. We're very selective when we go into early stage, high risk, high reward projects. That's just our approach to R&D. But in my view, you have to have a swing for the fence. And if you have the opportunity to cure a condition and you're in an area that's important to the company and you're committed to customers and patients, those are the types of investments that you make. And that's a perfect example of one.
Are you likely to have other bets in gene therapy, or is this?
I would expect that if the scientific team thinks that we can expand that business and build some depth around gene therapy, that we will do more deals in that area.
And I should say investments, not bets.
Yeah.
And you did mention earlier your pipeline. You have 2 products in phase 3, the Abicipar and Bimetoprost. I'm terrible with names.
Yeah.
And Abicipar in phase 2. Do you look for? Would you possibly bring in later stage compounds to sort of augment those late stage opportunities, or are you comfortable with this later stage pipeline they have?
Yeah, you can never have enough products, and so
they're
the answer.
Expensive though. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They are expensive. You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And listen, the 3 spaces that we serve, glaucoma, anterior segment, and retina, are important to us. And our aim is to build as much product line depth in those areas as possible. In the world of open science, which is basically a combination of mid to late stage drug development and business development, you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find a prince. And so we evaluate a lot of product opportunities, and if we think something is compelling on a strategic level and then on a financial level, we'll do it. And there's really no limit to how much we'll acquire. We never have a shortage you can never have a shortage of products.
So I guess in the next year, will we be talking about a new deal, do you think? Are you anticipating that something you'll find some project to purchase or some other kind of earlier stage acquisition going forward?
Yeah, I would expect by the end of 2018, I'd like to believe that we will have added a few more assets to our pipeline or to our product line. It's a little harder to get marketed products, as you know.
Sure.
But I would like to imagine that we'll have more stuff at the end of the year.
Excellent. And with the TrueTier acquisition, I know that I saw that at SECO earlier this year. It's getting great play. I believe that it's going to be a private pay only
Yes.
business. Was that expected? And is the reimbursement? How are you looking at the reimbursement environment? Is it a challenge? Do you see it as something that's easier to manage than perhaps others might?
Yeah, I think that generally speaking, there is a real emphasis on controlling costs in all aspects of healthcare right now.
Sure.
And companies have to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. There are restrictions and formularies, of course. There's downward pressure on price. And I think the providers here are feeling it too. I do think there's still a balanced conversation happening between biopharmaceutical companies and health plans. We like cash pay products to balance out our reimbursed business. And it also provides an opportunity for ophthalmologists and optometrists that are trying to create balance in their practice between reimbursed services and treatments and cash pay services and treatments. And we took a look at TrueTier. We thought we could price it very reasonably so that it could be a cash pay model for Allergan and for optometrists and ophthalmologists. And we're launching it next week, I guess, officially, and a press release will go out on Friday. And it's a great. I always say that if Apple had decided to get into eye care, they would have developed TrueTier. I think Michael Ackerman at Oculeave and Bill Link. It's a terrific product, and we hope that it's successful as we launch it over the next several quarters.
Yeah, I think you made that analogy before.
I
You're
did.
Right. It has a really neat look and a neat feature, and I did see it on the floor of SECO, but I was surprised at how understated it was. So
Yes.
the official rollout will be at ASCRS?
That's correct.
Okay, interesting. Okay, and final question. We're obviously seeing products like TrueTier giving new opportunities and new options for optometrists. Do you see that as an area where, it's an area where you already have some great exposure, but do you see yourself bringing more devices, more maybe medically oriented products to service optometrists and help them build their practices?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the answer is yes. That's been an emphasis of ours over the past several years. It'll continue to be an emphasis. TruTear is a great example of a technology that could have great utility in optometry. Another example would be our bimatoprost ring from Foresight Vision 5, which would be a perfect solution for optometrists that are putting more emphasis on medical management and intervention in their practices. And there's many of them. They play an invaluable service in terms of eye care health, and we're committed to that segment too.
Excellent. Well, it's a great story. Very happy to have you here. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Tom.
Right.